Now, well, good evening, everybody, and welcome to our pre-election discussion of the official sample ballot and voting information that's been provided by the Montgomery County Board of Elections. You can see it on your screen. My name is Alan Bowser. I'm a longtime chair at our precinct 1350, which votes at the Sligo Creek Elementary School. I'm joined by our new uh, Vice Chair Francoise Stovall, who lives in the Seven Oaks Evanswood neighborhood on Greenbrier near downtown Silver Spring
I'm on Dartmouth. I'm on the
on
700 block of Dartmouth.
Dartmouth Street. And congratulations and welcome to her. We're available as resource individuals for everything primary and general elections. So I just want to go through the ballot and share some information that people might want to draw on as they worry about the process. This is the document that was sent out by the Board of Elections. Registered voters should have received one. I should say at the outset that Francoise and I are Democratic precinct officials, but this information will be useful for independents and Republicans as well. So this is the front page of the ballot. As we scroll down, we see there's going to be lots of information. The first thing they focus on is that there's three ways to vote. You can vote by mail. That's become very popular since the pandemic. There's a lot of mail-in voting. Maybe the majority of voting is done by the mail-in process. Many fewer people are voting on election day. By election day, most people have dropped off their ballots or they've sent back in their mail-in ballots. So you can vote by mail. And these are the deadlines about when you can request a mail-in ballot. This information, of course, will be available in this video. But if you want to get your mail-in ballot by mail, you have to apply by October 29th. If you want to get it sent to you by the internet, Friday, November 1st is the deadline for that. And then you have to return your ballots in a certain time frame. You have to get if you're going to put your ballot in the U.S. mail, you have to have it in there by pretty much close of business on November 5th. If you take it to the Board of Elections office in Gaithersburg by 8 p.m., or if you drop it in one of the many, many drop boxes that Montgomery has around the county by 8 o'clock on Tuesday, which is when the polls close. Another way to vote is to go to the early voting center. It's really popular. First day, last day, usually the busiest days. Uh, Lunchtime is a very busy time at the early voting centers. The closest one for our neighborhood is at the Silver Spring Civic Building. And the last way that they list as a way to vote is on Election Day. Election Day is November 5th, 2024. Polls open at 7 a.m. They close at 8 p.m. If you're in line at 8 p.m., you can vote. One of the nice things about Maryland is that you can register to vote during early voting and on election day. And if you do want to register to vote at one of these early voting stations, you have to bring identifying information like a Maryland's driver's license or learner's permit, identification card, proof of residence, and that could be a bank statement, a utility bill, or another government document which has got your name and address on it. As mentioned earlier, we have these drop boxes, and this is a picture of what the drop boxes look like. There's one outside the Silver Spring Civic Building, which is very popular. And as you can see, there's a long list. 58 of these boxes are around the county. But I don't know if you can see my cursor. Silver Spring Civic Building, One Veterans Place. That's where there is a drop box. They have early voting centers. There's 14 early voting centers in Montgomery County. and ours is the closest one is at Silver Spring Civic Building. But the nice thing about early voting is that you can go to any of these places in the county and vote. So if you live in Silver Spring, but you happen to be in Gaithersburg, you can go to the Activity Center at Borough Park, or if you're in Germantown or you're in Damascus, you can vote. I don't know how many people take advantage of that, but the system is set up so you can vote in any of the early voting centers in the county. Thursday, October 24th. This Thursday until October 31st is early voting, and 7 o'clock in the morning, you can vote at the Silver Spring Civic Building. That's where we'll see most of our neighbors and friends. And there's some information. There's parking there. Many of us walk there. And there's a lot of activity outside the early voting center at Silver Spring. Candidates will have tables set up. Um, the teachers union, MCA, will probably have a table, and they will be giving out information in support of their candidates. Uh, Everybody's very friendly, and they would like people to talk to. So be a friend, you be a good neighbor, and talk to other people outside, because the early voting period is a long, long period, and if you're working the polls, there's a lot of downtime, and yeah, people would like to chat. Um, Get what you need to vote. This talks about the apps that we have and phone texting. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this. I'm assuming everybody here, it might be an improper assumption that everybody here is registered to vote and has done this process before. Montgomery County. Um, Inside the early voting centers and on election day, you're going to get a ballot after they verify your identification. You're going to get a ballot, and you can choose to vote in two different ways. One is sort of an old-fashioned way where you use a ballpoint pen to fill out the circle, the oval that's next to the person or persons that you want to vote for. Alternatively, there is a computer screen, and somebody will start up the device for you, and you get to scroll through the pages and make marks with your finger, and move on to the next page. At the end, you push a complete button, a submit button, and they will print it out for you and put it into a scanner, and that's how your vote gets counted. You're not supposed to take any pictures when you're voting, selfies and things like that. But it is, as you know, it's an important experience, and it's very worthwhile. And we need everybody to vote because we've got important elections that we need to take care of. So you're going to scan the ballot. This document talks about election security. There are some people who've got concerns about how secure our voting systems are. Importantly, voting equipment is not connected to the internet. There are backup systems in place to protect election results, and that there's a lot of on-site security to make sure that people feel comfortable in casting a vote and keeping their vote private. So we do a really good job in Montgomery County. We've got dozens upon dozens of paid professionals who do this stuff year and they're career employees, and they do it year in and year out, trying to make the system more secure. This is always, nationally, this is one of the issues that causes a lot of problems. In some places, they early voting is going on now. Ballots are being mailed in. They're being put in drop boxes, and in some jurisdictions around the country, people can count the ballots as they come in. In other places, they won't let you count the ballots until the regular polls close on election day at 8 o'clock. In this case, in Montgomery County, Uh, the ballots are counted, and they announced the early voting and some of the mail-in ballots at 8 o'clock when the polls close. So you have a really good indication of who won or was unsuccessful in their election. When the polls close, then it takes a while for them to tally the votes that come from around the county, but we may not get the information that we want by the close of polls or shortly thereafter on election day. In some places, there are recounts, and you might not know the election results for days or maybe a week. In District 6, and we are in Silver Spring. We're in District 8. Jamie Raskin is our congressional representative in District 6. 2 years ago, I don't believe we knew that Congressman Trone had won for more than 10 days after the election. It was a nail biter. Um, the election board accommodates people with disabilities. You just have to ask an election judge what are the options. Silver Spring Civic Building is easy for somebody in a wheelchair to get into the polling place. It's a little bit more difficult at the Sligo Creek Elementary School. There is an elevator, but I don't believe that that elevator has ever worked in the time that I've been involved in this, and that's been a couple of decades. Um, this sample ballot included information. Maybe too late for this year, but they are always desperate to find election judges and people who can work the polls. They do get paid, and they do have a process now where kids can become election workers and get student learning hours and up to $250 in a stipend for the day of work that they do. So commend that to your attention. Future vote ambassador students 6 to 12 are needed to serve as student aides. So that would be an interesting job. We didn't have that when I was growing up. They mentioned redistricting. Redistricting happens all around the country, not so bad in Montgomery County in Maryland, even though they have changed the boundaries in recent years. We're still District 8, and not much has changed in that district. Here's information about the Board of Elections and it lists the board members. My friend Daniel Caroma is the vice president. And now here we get to the good stuff. This is the
Wait, sorry,
official.
Alan, but I had to step out because of a bedtime thing, but did you talk about same-day registration and voter ID?
I did. I
Okay, great.
did.
I would love to jump in with that. So Maryland is a same-day registration state, which means you can show up early for early voting or election day voting in person. And if you are not registered, you can register there and then cast your ballot. Um, it's also a state with very minimal voter ID requirements. If you've already voted at your polling place or in the county, you don't need to show ID. You just need to confirm your identity when you come to the front of the line. If you haven't voted in Maryland before, you will need to verify your ID with it. You can show a Maryland ID or you can give the last 4 digits of your social security number. You may want to bring a utility bill it's not a requirement, but some people may think it is. So you can bring a utility bill or a state ID to back up your residency, but it's not a requirement to vote. So that can smooth the process, but you're still entitled to vote without the Maryland ID. So want to be sure that people know that they can like show up and they cannot be turned away.
So if you know people who haven't registered and think about not voting because they're not registered, they have lots of opportunities to register and to vote during this year's presidential election. So we've gone through the information that the election board has provided about where you can vote and how you can vote. And now on page 13 of the sample ballot, where you get a chance to vote for your candidates. We're going to emphasize Democratic candidates here because we are Democratic precinct officials. This is the first page of the ballot. On the left-hand side, you can see how they want you to darken in the little oval. You have to darken it completely, or it might be a misvote. Um, I guess it's hard to ignore the fact that this is a presidential election year. We're voting for president and vice president for the next 4 years. And these are the candidates for president and vice president of the United States. You only vote for one block. And in these blocks, you've got the presidential candidate and the vice presidential candidate. We are 150% in support of Kamala Harris and Tim Walz as the candidates for president and vice president. And you can see that there are other candidates for president of the United States. This is a year we're only voting for federal officials. So the next federal office that you're asked to vote for is a U.S. senator. It's hard to ignore to avoid the ads that are on TV and on the radio and the mail and in your mailboxes. Angela also Brooks is running for senator. We will be voting for Angela. She's currently the county executive of Prince George's County, Maryland, which I believe is the second largest county in the state. She's a remarkable woman who's made herself available to voters in this district over and over and over again. She used to be, for 8 years, she was the state's attorney in Prince George's County, and then she became the county executive for Prince George's, and now she's running for the U.S. Senate. There are the other candidates who are running for U.S. Senator. The other federal election that's on the ballot is for Congress, and Jamie Raskin is our Democratic candidate for Congress in District 8. You can only vote for one. Vote for Jamie. Those of you who have met him, know him, read about him, he's a remarkable man, and he really is a champion. He's been a great representative. He's been a great congressman for this district, but he's also a wonderful guy who has many talents. He plays the piano and he writes songs. And what I discovered last Thanksgiving is that he's a very competent juggler, and he can actually do the thing where you juggle three apples at the same time and take a bite out of one of them while he's juggling. In this election, we'll be voting for judges of the circuit court. This is not the district court. This is the court which handles more complicated legal matters and litigation. These are the people who were nominated through the primary process, where Democrats and Republicans could vote for them. You don't have to vote for all of them. You can vote for one, two, three, or four, or none at all. And I guess I'd be remiss if I didn't say that you don't have to vote for any particular candidate. You can leave it blank. We hope you'll vote for Democrats. So you've got four candidates who are judge of the circuit court. Vote for four. Vote for one, two, three, or four, or all of them. We've got two categories here. These are appellate judges, and this is a retention election. So voters have an opportunity to vote on whether or not these particular individuals, Ann Albright and Kevin Arthur, should continue in office. We haven't heard any derogatory information about any of these judges on the appellate court, so we're recommending that they be continued in office and continue serving as its judges. There's another judge, Andrea Leahy, and continuation in office for the appellate court at large. There are the Board of Education candidates are up for election in this cycle. Some of them participate, all of them participate in the primary process earlier this year. These are the ones that made it through. One of the interesting things about Montgomery County is that we get to vote for all the candidates, even though they're not from our particular district. So there's an at-large candidate, and we are recommending that, well, you get to pick between Lynn Harris and Rita Montoya for an at-large. In District 2, Brenda Diaz and Natalie Zimmerman. I'm recommending Natalie Zimmerman, who I know as a great lady. Brenda Diaz is very controversial, and some of her viewpoints about the education system in Montgomery County and Montgomery County Public Schools. Natalie Zimmerman would be my recommendation in that race. Um, Tougher one here. This is District 4. Trevor Evans, who is currently on the Board of Education and serves as president for different terms, and our friend Laura Stewart, who's been an amazing advocate for Montgomery County Public School students, primarily with a group called Montgomery County MCC, Montgomery County PTA. I missed a C in there. That's Laura Stewart and Trevor Evans. So vote for one of those. There's two ballot questions on this year's ballot. The first one is hugely important, hasn't got as much attention as I thought. Question one is a constitutional amendment, amending the Maryland Constitution to highlight a woman's right to choose. This proposed amendment confirms an individual's fundamental right to reproductive freedom, including but not limited to the ability to make and effectuate decisions to prevent, continue, or end the individual's pregnancy, and provides the state may not directly or indirectly deny, burden, or abridge the right unless justified by compelling state interests achieved by the least restrictive means. There, it's also written in Spanish. So this is a constitutional amendment to guarantee a woman's right to choose going forward. And there are constitutional amendments and ballot questions on this issue throughout the country, and they've driven turnout in places like Ohio and Kansas. They're on the ballot in Maryland, but they're also in Florida, and I believe there's a constitutional amendment in Texas, among sort of the big states. And we hope that it'll drive traffic to the polls. I didn't understand that. Thank you. That was my phone talking to me. The other ballot question is question A. So you've got question one, which is reproductive freedom, and question A, which is term limits. And this is a proposal which was advanced by the Republican Party in Montgomery County. They collected enough signatures. I think at the final count, it was more than 15,000 signatures to put this particular charter amendment. So the Constitution of the county is called the county charter. And this is a proposal to amend the county charter, which reduced the number of terms that the county executive can serve from 3 terms or 12 years to 2 terms or 8 years. The Democratic Party does not support, we're not in favor of this amendment. We oppose it. And we're asking people to vote against question A. They just changed the term limits in Montgomery County to provide for 3 terms for county council and for the county executive. And this is an effort by the Republican Party to do through a ballot initiative what they weren't able to do at the polls. The guy who was behind this initiative ran against Mark Elrich for county executive as a Republican 4 years ago. He came up short. And this is a way that they're trying to get Mark Elrich out office. So we oppose this amendment. There are a lot of organizations. There's a list that I could provide of all the organizations who do not support this amendment and will be encouraging their members and their followers to vote against it. There's a lot of money in this in support of this amendment by some business types and the Republican Party. So please vote no on question A. And that is the end of the ballot. Here's a more detailed description of what the constitutional change would be, the amendment to the Constitution about an individual's right to reproductive of freedom. And so we provide that for your interest. And um, over the years, they've changed it. So now all of the whole ballot, the whole sample ballot is in Spanish and in English. So that is everything that we wanted to share this evening because early voting starts the day after tomorrow. And we just wanted to provide information. And I'm going to stop the video here and thank everybody for participating in this online preview of the elections that we have here.